On page 289, we're going to go through our last example for today. There are approximately 770 peanuts in a jar of peanut butter. The total number of peanuts, P of J, is a function of the number of jars of peanut butter, J. Identify the independent and dependent variables. Well, our question itself gives us a lot of clues. It says that the total number of peanuts, P of J, is a function of the number of jars of peanut butter, J. So if jars of peanut butter is the variable that's defining the function, that's our independent variable. So J is the independent variable. And in this case, it stands for the number of jars. That means P of J is our dependent variable. In this case, it's R, number of peanuts. And that should make sense anyway, because the number of peanuts used depends on how many jars there are. If we make 1 jar of peanut butter, it's gonna require a much different number of peanuts than if we make 100 jars of peanut butter. So next it asks for the values of the domain and range that would make sense. Now, because the number of jars is our independent variable, that's going to be the type of values that's determining our domain. Okay, well, can we have half a jar of peanut butter? Can we buy a third of a jar of peanut butter? Can we buy 0.25 jars of peanut butter? No. So for our domain, the domain is going to be whole numbers, like 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put a ... to show that that keeps going. If I went to the grocery store, and the grocery store still had food available, then I would have to buy jars of peanut butter in whole numbers. Now keep in mind, the domain determines what the range is. So it corresponds to our domain. In this case, we know that each jar of peanut butter uses 770 peanuts. So for these values that I just picked, if I had 0 jars of peanut butter, it would be 0 peanuts. If I had 1 jar of peanut butter, it would be 770 peanuts. If I had 2 jars of peanut butter, it would be, give me just a second, 1,540 peanuts. And if I had 3, it would be 2,310. And that would keep going as well. So what does that mean in terms of my range? It means that the range is going to be multiples of 770. I'm not going to end up with anything like 50 or 1,000. It has to correspond to my domain. The last thing it asks us to do is write a function to represent the total number of peanuts, then determine the number of peanuts in 7 jars of peanut butter. Okay, well, we know that P of J is a function of J. Well, we just talked about this. How do we go from our domain to our range? We're multiplying each of our domain values by 770. So it's going to be 770 times however many jars of peanut butter we have. So if they want to know how many peanuts there would be for 7 jars of peanut butter, we do 770 times 7, and that gives us a grand total of 5,390. And let me write that in the correct notation for you. There we go.